Hey there everybody, I am Crunchy Scott, and today I am turning this into this. This is a Buddha's hand, and the obvious translation, the obvious 80s translation is Karma Chameleon Candy. Yes, boys and girls, I am going deep with some Culture Club references today. So I will show you how to make this delicious Karma Chameleon Candy. I'll also tell you about some interesting tidbits about Boy George and Culture Club and Karma Chameleon. I'll also show you how to make a very delicious citrus sugar that we're going to wrap our candy in. And I'll also explain what the heck this freaky fruit is. And I'm not talking about me. Before we make the candy, I want to make the citrus sugar that's going to go on top of the candy. And it's really going to bump up that flavor, the Buddha's hand flavor. So you can see I've got some of the peel there. I've taken out all the pit. My original idea was to use just a, what is this, a peeler? But that didn't seem to work because if you look, my Buddha's hand is actually really soft on the inside. So I don't know if that means it's really ripe or whatever. So what I ended up doing, and I'll just pull off another one of these little fingers, is I ended up just kind of doing some, well, triage. So I cut off this little brown bit that's on the top. And I guess I like filleted it a little bit. Well, I just cut through that one. But then I opened it up and then scraped out. See, this one is even too soft to do that. I scraped out as much as I could of the white pith. And it is so juicy. So you would not believe what this smells like. It is unreal in here. But I tried to get all of that out so that it's a little less, juicy itself. And that's what I came up with. I got about 1/4 of a cup of peel. I do not think you're going to need that much for this sugar, but you know what? I kind of got carried away, and the more the merrier, right? Okay, that goes into my processor. And then we've got 1/4 cup of sugar as well. And then let's put the little... This is my little mini processor, which I love. Okay, we got that on. And then I'm just going to pulse it. Let's get it down here. Okay. Oh. All right. We'll just... What I'm going to do is I'm going to pulse it until the chunks, the citrus, the Buddha's hand chunks are really small and kind of mixed in with the sugar a little bit better. This is some beautiful sugar, but it's a little wet. So what I've done, oh, my oven's ready. So what I've done is I've just kind of sprinkled it onto some parchment paper, and I'm going to pop it into the lowest temperature oven that you can get. I would prefer it be like 150, but my oven only goes down to 170, so that should be fine. I'm going to put it in the oven and check it every 15 minutes. It should take about an hour, maybe an hour 15, an hour and a half to dry out completely, but we definitely need to get it nice and dry so that we can roll our candy, once we make it, in this sugar. Let's make this candy. So I have a heaping cup of my Buddha hand chopped up into little cubes and little circles, that kind of thing. And then we're just going to cover that with water. Really easy. And then we're going to simmer this for 20 minutes. So this is Food Wish's recipe, basically, with a few little tweaks of my own. And he suggested that we kind of simmer this before we actually do the sugar part because the Buddha's hand can be a little bitter. So I trust everything that man says, to be honest with you, because every recipe I've ever done of his has worked out. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. This will simmer for about 20 minutes, and then we'll be ready to add a lot of sugar. I have strained my Buddha's hand and let it cool down, and you can see it's a little bit more pliable now. Oh, it's got some more moisture in there. But it'll be fine. And what I did to my pot is I emptied it from the water that I steeped or simmered the original Buddha's hand in, and then cleaned it out. And now I've got 2/3 cup of fresh water in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add this Buddha's hand to that. And then, oh, I got one little rogue one. Let's put him in there. And then we're going to add a buttload of sugar. This is 3/4 of a cup of sugar. I know that is, damn it, I keep like putting my finger in the lens. I know that that's a lot of sugar, but don't forget, this is candy. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to bring this up to a simmer. Karma Chameleon came out in the US in December of 1983, which, thinking back now, my mother and Santa Claus must have acted really fast because I got that 45, which for those of you who don't know what a 45 is, it's a mini record. I got that 45 for Christmas that year. So good job, Mom and Santa Claus. I was 10 years old and you already knew I love me some Boy George. Karma Chameleon was probably one of the biggest hits that Culture Club had in the United States. And as a matter of fact, some say it's one of the most recognizable and best songs of the 80s. I would tend to agree with those polls. So what does Karma Chameleon mean? Well, Boy George says that it's basically about people who suck up a lot. And if you don't really act how you feel, then karma's gonna get you in the butt. So kind of a deep meaning for an 80s pop song. This has been simmering for about 20 minutes. I'd say about 5 minutes ago, I did turn up the heat just a little bit because we need to get this up to about 230 degrees to get the candy nice and gooey and all that good stuff. So I brought out my little laser temperature reader. I'll shoot down there. Remember, we need 200. Ooh, I'm 10 degrees away. Okay, that's great. So I'll let this simmer for just a little bit more. I might jack up the heat just a tad. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off the heat and let it cool down in the pot for about, I'd say, 10 minutes. Okay, we are in the home stretch, and I am so glad because it is really late. I'm already in my pajamas. It's like 2 a.m., and I'm ready to put this candy recipe to bed. It's actually not gonna be done tonight, but we can at least set it and forget it until tomorrow morning. So here's what I did. You can see I put it in a strainer and let all that juice, that syrup drain off. By the way, that syrup that's at the bottom of that bowl, do not get rid of that. It is absolutely delicious. I put it in some tea or something. It's so yummy. So then what I did is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the rest of these and put them onto a wire rack. I've already done a few, and you can see they look a little jellied and kind of starting to look like candy. And what I'll do tomorrow, we'll let this set overnight. So Food Wishes says 24 hours until they get kind of sticky and tacky enough that we can roll them in sugar. So I'll probably check them when I wake up in the morning in like 8 hours, and then another 4 hours after that, and then, you know, just throughout the day to see when it's at a good place to roll it in that special sugar that we're gonna make, and we'll do that tomorrow. I did want to say that I tasted one of these, and see how gummy they look? They look like little gummies. They're going to be really good. But I will say they are they do have a bitter taste to them. But there's also a very strong citrus flavor to them, which is amazing. So it's going to be great rolled in sugar, but I'm so glad that I followed Food Wish's recipe where he said to simmer it first to get some of that bitterness out, because I can't imagine how bitter it might be if I didn't do that. So I'm really glad I followed his advice. I follow all his advice. He's really amazing. Okay, so I am gonna transfer the rest of these onto this wire rack, go to bed, dream of Boy George songs, and we'll finish this recipe up tomorrow. Buddha's hand smells like Froot Loops cologne, and I don't think it could get any better than that. It's quite a unique fruit, as you can see, but not just for its visual appearance. It has basically no pulp and no juice. It's all just about the peel, which makes it perfect for this candy recipe and flavoring other things like vodka, stuff like that. So I'm not quite sure where it's grown. I know it originates in China and India. I got this one at the Harris Teeter, so maybe they grow it somewhere in the United States in a hothouse or something, not quite sure, but it was $9. I know. I think it's worth it though. I pick it up every single time I see it at the grocery store, and I just leave it in my kitchen, and it's like an all-natural air freshener that smells like Froot Loops. Oh my God. It is morning time, so let's start the morning off with sugar. Okay, so this is the sugar that we made earlier in this video. I did want to say, so I put this in the oven. You heard me say it was going to take about an hour to hour and a half. Well, after about 30 minutes, I started to get really nervous because it got really liquidy. Evidently, there was too much liquid in the citrus peel. But you know what? I powered through, and after every once in a while, I'd kind of take it out of the oven. It'd be a little bit drier, and each time I'd kind of break it up with my hands or with a fork and that kind of thing. So after about 3.5 hours, this is what I got. And I'm so glad I powered through because this is so fragrant. It's so tasty. It is going to be perfect on these dried Buddha's hand peels or Buddha's hand candies that we're making. And they're totally tacky, so they are ready for this sugar. But I can't leave it like that. It's a little too chunky. So I'm going to add it to my food processor, my little mini processor. And then I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of regular sugar there. Let's put this on. We always have trouble with this, don't we? Okay, so put that on. I'll show you down here, and we're just going to pulse. There we go. Let me open it up. And it's perfect. Okay, I'm ready to roll this candy. It's the final countdown. Okay, here's the sugar we made. We're going to take one of our nice sticky little jelly Buddha's hand. All right, I know where I'm going with that. All right, we'll toss it around in the sugar. Oh yeah, how good that looks. That might make it easier. Okay, well look at that. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Now unfortunately, tap it off just a little bit. We need to let this dry for I'd say like maybe 2-3 hours. You want everything to be nice and dry before you box them up or store them. But what I would do, honestly, is I would take this sugar and I would take all of these beautiful candies, dump them into a paper bag, and shake, 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 and you'll be done in no time. I don't know about you, but I am still super impressed that we can turn something like this into delicious vegan candy. I know it's not super beautiful candy right now. It is a lot more attractive when you first take it out and you finish making it because the sugar's like all sparkly on there and everything. And then give it a couple days and the sugar kind of sets in and it looks a little bit more like this. But the texture stays nice and gummy. Oh my gosh. And the flavor is like no other. I mean, it is such a huge citrus punch. More than lemon, more than lime, more than grapefruit. It's just absolutely delicious. So, if you ever see this at the grocery store, you pick it up and you make this Karma Chameleon Candy. You will not be disappointed.